While everyone's been talking about ChatGPT 5, did you know that OpenAI actually released a free open source model that can be run locally on your PC? That means no subscription, no API fees, no internet connection, allowing full data privacy. Hey, I'm Blake, an AI engineer based in New Zealand, and let me show you how easy it is to get set up. So they released two different models that are open source. They've got GPT-OSS 120 billion parameters and a 20 billion parameter model. And for being completely free and open source, the benchmarks are pretty crazy. If we go over to AME 2024, the competition math with tools, we can see it actually outperforms O3, which is one of their best reasoning models that you had to pay for. So for even PhD level science questions, we see it just sits under about 2.2% for the 120 billion parameter model. But then for the 20 billion parameter model, it's a bit significantly less, but still pretty good. For HLE, which is humanity's last exam, which is pretty much the hardest level AI benchmark with a whole bunch of very expert niche questions, we can see the quality does drop off quite a bit. But again, this is open source and completely free. And then for college level exams, we see it's just, again, slightly under O3, but still crazy performance. So to actually run these models, we're going to be using a program called Ollama. And you just go over to ollama.com and then hit on that download button, go into Windows, Linux, or Mac OS, depending on your operating system, hit download, and you'll get the little exe download at the top there. And so Ollama is pretty much just a software that allows you to download and run open source LLMs locally on your machine. Once the exe is finished downloading, you can run it, and then you'll get prompted with this window. Just hit on install, and it will actually install the software to your computer. Once it's uninstalling, you'll get this little Ollama pop-up window here, and it'll look very similar to ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, and it's just your little prompt terminal window, and then eventually on the side here, you'll have all of the previous conversation history. And so in this little drop down here is the model selector. And so you can select from a range of different open source models here. So we've got the GPT-OSS models, we've got Gemma, which is Google's open source models, and then also Qwen as well. And so you can select on which one you want to use. If I was to use the 120 billion parameter model, send a message in here. First, it actually has to download the model, go through that whole process. Unfortunately, my computer's probably not going to be good enough to do the 120 billion parameter one. I'd recommend trying out the 20 billion parameter one first, and so we'll use that for this video. Once that's downloaded, you'll be able to run any kind of prompt through here and have a conversation. So we'll give it a test, how many R's are in strawberry. Should be able to get this one because it's actually a thinking model, and we'll see it pops up thinking here. So unlike kind of GPT-4, where it just prompts out information, it actually goes through and iterates and thinks through. And so for any of the more complex kind of questions, it's a lot better to use a thinking model rather than one that just pops out the answers. And so we can see here it's going through, trying to count through, seeing what the different letters are and doing a count from there. And so it's looking at, yes, there are 3 R's, 1, 2, 3, and so we'll go through. And the speed of how this actually runs is so dependent on your computer. As it's running locally on my desktop, it is not connected to the internet whatsoever. And if you have a really good GPU and processing system, then it's going to run a lot faster. And there we go. After 30 seconds, it comes back. There are 3 R's in strawberry. And so we can validate this by going into the settings as well. We see that there's no Ollama account connected. It's not exposed to my local network. It's just stored locally in my user files. I can also change the context length, which again will impact how long it takes to answer. So if I'm going through a chat with one of these models, the longer my context length, the more messages I've had previously will actually get passed through to the model. And then there's also airplane mode, because again, you can run this fully locally. You could be using and chatting to these AI models while on the plane, which is really cool. So if you're a bit more technical and you kind of enjoy using the terminal, you can also run it through there. So I would go into my terminal, I'd run Ollama, run GPT-OSS 20B. And this was the old way of doing it. Ollama's only recently actually had that UI, so you used to have it to run through the terminal. And so now that's running, I can go hello, and it will go through, think, and then come back with an answer. And even though compared to using the models online, this is really, really fast for what it is, which is pretty cool because, again, it is running fully locally. If you want to then automate a workflow using these kind of locally hosted models, rather than manually typing in a prompt every time, you can actually set up a Python script to run through and actually prompt and do something with those outputs. And so this is a little notebook here. Just need to pip install Ollama once you have Python installed as well. And then you just run this little block of code here, setting the model name, what the prompt is, and then just running through and it will print that out, which is pretty cool. And so then again, you can create a whole script that if you've got a whole range of prompts that you want to run through, and then it outputs to a CSV, etc. All of that you can do with these locally hosted models, which allows you kind of full customization of what you want to do. So it took a little bit longer than it did in the UI. It took about 5 minutes, 17 seconds to get back, but there are 3 R's in Strawberry. These open source models give you such a range of freedom for customization and automation while having no subscription cost and running fully locally. But that might just mean you need to actually upgrade your PC to run them a lot faster, or the newer models that are coming out. If you're interested in AI related content, I post a wide range of tutorials on this channel, so check it out and I'll see you around.